The Renault Trafic trade van has come in for a major facelift. There's a new look, more tech and safety, and a major increase in entry price. Does the new strategy work? Let's find out.
The Renault Trafic has been on sale in Australia in its current form since 2015, but even so, take-up remains strong, with Renault reporting record sales of the outgoing model in 2021. This midlife facelift brings a bigger standard engine and a significant uplift in safety, technology and price, with the entry point climbing nearly $9,000 to $48,200 before on-road costs for the Pro short wheelbase manual. At the top of the 8 model Trafic lineup resides the lifestyle crew van long wheelbase, priced at a lofty $62,200 plus on-road costs.
Okay, so the business end of the Renault Trafic. Today we've spent a lot of our time in the short wheelbase premium model, sits at about the midpoint of the updated Trafic lineup, just above $52,000 before on-road costs. In terms of its actual utility values, there's some really handy features. These barn doors at the rear have an uncoupling function that allows access for things like forklifts and also bigger objects, dual sliding doors, and this particular van has the optional rubber matting on the floor and the pass-through feature in the bulkhead, which basically extends the load space for certain objects. Great selection of tie-down points at different heights as well. You can get up to 16 tie-down points depending on the Trafic variant, but you'll see some from the floor, some from the middle of the van, and some a bit higher as well for larger objects. So quite a lot of thought has gone into the rear itself. The big caveat is that of payload. We haven't actually done any payload testing today, so I can't really tell you how it performs under load, but you are getting up to nearly 1,300 kilograms of payload, as well as a brake towing capacity of 2.5 tons.
The entire Trafic lineup is now powered by a beefier 2-litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder engine, matched to a choice of a 6-speed manual transmission or a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic. Fuel consumption for the DCT tested here is rated at 6.5 litres per 100 Ks, and when you consider the 80-litre fuel tank, that means theoretically long distances between refills. Payload officially ranges between 1,053 kilograms and 1,279 kilograms depending on variant. Likewise, cargo space spans between 5.8 and 6.7 cubic metres, and towing capacity varies between 1,700 kilograms and 2,500 kilograms braked.
Now when I think trade van, my mind automatically turns to sitting on top of the front wheels, steering wheel in your lap, really uncomfortable, noisy, all of the rest. The Renault Trafic is a massive departure for that. The predecessor already had car-like origins with its cabin set out, and the latest facelift really does extend those character traits. So a lot more tech inside the cabin, a lot more comfort features as well, but without sort of taking away a lot of the typical trade values. So for that reason, incidental storage is fantastic. You again have this center console that flips up and down. There's a clipboard holder in there. There's a separate fold-out compartment in the front area as well. So lots of little convenient touches that people that spend a lot of time in their van are really going to appreciate. For me, there is a little bit of a dearth of cup holder storage. That sounds like a little one, but you basically have one here and one up here. And my other automatic gripe is just some of the functionality of the tech. There's no physical volume knob. You do have 2 buttons down here on an indicator stalk, but just not quite as easy to interface with, to access as it really could be. From the driver's seat though, it's comfortable, it's plush, everything is sort of within arm's reach, which is good. Even that cup holder, yes, it's set a long way forward in the dashboard, but it's also out of harm's way if you're jumping in and out of the van frequently. For me, the seat base is a little bit short on this car. I sort of wonder how its long-term amenity would really fare if you're spending 500 kilometers in a day. You wonder whether you get the biggest support. But out of the front 3 seats, the person that's really most compromised is actually the passenger on the window side. They're really kind of encroached by the door itself. It doesn't actually leave a lot of room for that passenger.
The Renault Trafic now covers much of our infotainment checklist as standard, with the exception of a head-up display and hardwired sat-nav. The safety scorecard varies depending on which variant you're driving. The base level Trafic misses out on adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring and traffic sign recognition, and all variants do without lane keeping assist and rear cross traffic alert.
Okay, so with no huge fundamental changes going on underneath as part of this Trafic facelift, the drive experience is largely carryover, and that is no bad thing. I mentioned before the kind of picture that you get in your mind when you're speaking about trade vans, lots of bounciness sitting over the front wheels. Well, the Renault Trafic definitely isn't like that. It is more of a step towards passenger car comfort and amenity with the way it drives, but with some trade van idiosyncrasies. So one thing, the diesel engine obviously now moves to that regular 2-litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder. The old 1.6 litre is gone. There wasn't anything overly wrong with that engine, but you do definitely benefit from the added torque, the added displacement of the 2-litre. So stepping on, there is a little bit of a delay at low speed. It's kind of a combination of the turbo diesel, but also the dual clutch automatic transmission kind of making its mind up on what it wants to do. But once you're up and running, there's that slight hesitation, a little bit of elasticity from the drivetrain, and then you're really able to key into the torque that's on offer from the turbo diesel engine, and it makes plenty of it. Again, the caveat here is that we're driving this van unladen, so can't really give you a gauge of how it performs with a load in the back or behind us. But in day-to-day regular conveyance on normal roads, we've done a bit of urban stuff, we've done longer country roads, some twisty stuff like I'm driving through at the moment, and even some highway driving, and it is a very well sorted, really comfortable van.
Unladen, the 2-litre turbo diesel also proves quite efficient on test, averaging about 7.6 litres per 100 k's in a mix of conditions. But once again, the bigger test will come with a load on board or in tow.
And I think having the bulkhead in this particular test car isolates a lot of the boomy, echoey sort of soundtrack that people think of with trade vans. So it's nice and quiet inside the front part of the cabin, a little bit of diesel grumble, but all in all, it's quite a refined and easy place to spend time in. And that's for good reason, because a lot of people are virtually living out of these things 9 to 5. So in terms of its bump compliance, there are a few little trade van idiosyncrasies, as I mentioned before. So you'll get the occasional thud predominantly in the rear, but all in all, it's pretty composed during changes in direction, manages to iron out most bumps in the road, and it reflects imperfections accordingly. So sharper imperfections, you're going to feel sort of thudding their way through the cabin, but importantly, no huge crashing moments. The steering as well, it's light enough at low speed, requires a little bit of input for sharper turns, but again, easy to gauge and more car-like than you probably give it credit for.
The Trafic is offered with a 5-year, 200,000 kilometre warranty in Australia, while servicing intervals are spaced at a huge 30,000 kilometres apart, which will appeal to those covering big miles.
So those are just some of the basic features of the new Renault Trafic facelift. As I said before numerous times in the review, we really need to test this thing under load and with a load in tow to give you the full verdict. But first impression is that this has really strong bones yet again for a trade van. You pay a little bit more than some of the competitors, but I think what you get for its outright comfort, its day-to-day amenity and its new technology suite more than makes up for that.